So what about the library world? Well, the library world ends up using a slightly different model. Actually, it uses several slightly different models, but let's just stick with one for the moment. So this is one of the models that the library world uses. Some of you will be familiar with this. It's called FRBR, F-R-B-R, standing for Functional Requirements for Bibliographic Records. And whilst index has 3 layers, FRBR has 4. I've drawn it out so that the equivalencies are roughly aligned horizontally. In fact, index and FRBR agree pretty much 100% on the nature of what is an item, an individual copy of a book. There's not much scope for disagreement there, to be honest. So they both start at that level. They, in fact, pretty much agree on what they both call manifestations. A product, in your terms, is a manifestation, and it's a manifestation both within the index model and within the FRBR model. Where it all goes wrong, in a way, is at the top level of this. And you can see that in the library world, we have an extra level. What we call a work in the index model is actually the very close equivalent, not exactly the same, but a very close equivalent of what in the FRBR, the library world, is called an expression. And above that, even more abstract, even more slippery as a concept, is the idea of a FRBR work. The difference here can be highlighted by saying, I suppose, that in FRBR, that Swedish novel, Man som hatar kvinnor, and the English translation, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, are 2 different expressions of the same work, whereas in index, they are 2 different, albeit closely related works, because one is derived from another. The key difference between index and FRBR is that those FRBR expressions are related to each other by their derivation from the same work. They are siblings, they're descended from a common parent work, whereas in index, they're related in a peer-to-peer fashion. They are peers of each other, related directly, rather than being related indirectly through a FRBR work. The seeming importance of work to librarians, I speculate this difference in viewpoint comes from the viewpoint that the relationships are more hierarchical, descending from works, rather than being directly related works, is actually because for publishers, who generally use the index model in the way that they think, publishers have access to information about workflow. So this work is translated into that work, or it's abridged into a different work. Publishers' business is about those translations, those derivations, those abridgments. The workflow, the stuff that publishers do, is often about creating new works, one from another, whereas the library only has the end product to work with. They don't necessarily see the workflow. What they see is the end result of that workflow. So because they don't have access to information about how this index work is related to that index work, they see, right, here's 2 expressions, and they're both obviously derived from one kind of even higher level and more abstract work. This causes no end of problems.